Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Divorced Woman's Guide podcast. I am so excited that you have tuned in today because I am here with Melanie Hersch. Hello, Melanie. How are
Hi,
you?
I am great. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm so excited to have you here today. And everybody tuning in, we are talking about something that actually I don't even think I've talked about in my podcast yet, but we are here to talk about authentic connection and what some intimacy blocks may be that some of you are having. So, before Melanie and I dive into this juicy conversation today, I want to share a little bit more with you about her. So, Melanie is a psychotherapist turned dating coach who teaches singles how to rewire the unconscious patterns that have been preventing them from having the love they want. Melanie believes that dating and relationships are some of the most powerful catalysts for personal growth. And her approach isn't focused on how to get the person you want, but instead how to become the person who easily attracts love in. Her unique approach blends psychology, spirituality, and energetics to help her clients increase their self-esteem, know their worth, and easily attract healthy love into their lives. Her work has been featured in Oprah's O Magazine as well as in Psychology Today. So amazing. I'm so excited to have you here to talk about this. And it's interesting because I was actually just having an intimacy conversation with one of my clients and explaining to her that intimacy doesn't always mean sex. It doesn't always mean something sexual. So
Yeah.
I'm thrilled that you're here to talk about this with me today. And before we dive in, so our audience gets to know you even better, I would love for you to share your story and how it is that you came to do this work and what inspired you.
Yeah. For me, what I wanted from a very young age, I craved being in partnership. And my parents met the first day of college, and it always seemed like, oh, this should be really easy. You just meet your person and smooth sailing. And it was brutal for me, though. I was constantly attracting in unhealthy partners and people that weren't a fit for me. And I just really struggled in this area. And so, being someone that has just always been into personal growth and development, I just wanted to get to the bottom of this. Like, why is it so hard for me to find a healthy partnership? I'm intelligent. I've got stuff going on for me. Like, what's going on? And so I became super passionate about figuring out what blocks us from having love come in. And that became my main focus. I worked as a psychotherapist and then ended up transitioning to right now I'm doing dating and relationship coaching and mostly working with single people and helping them move through this stuff because it's so challenging when you desire love and you can't seem to bring it in. And so if I can help people make that an easier thing, then that's really what I want.
And I think that I'm big on definitions, right? So for
Mm,
me, what I had to get clear on was really understanding what is love, right? What does love feel like, especially
yeah,
going through divorce? Every single one of us go, did they ever love us? Are we
yeah,
enough for people? Some more recent conversations I'm having with clients has really been around the topic of not just self-love, but also intimacy. Was there intimacy? I thought there was intimacy. Maybe there wasn't intimacy. And a lot of times I feel like people attach the wrong emotions, the wrong feelings that have to do with intimacy. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about what is it about that struggle, right? What is it that people and women specifically perhaps struggle the most with when it comes to creating intimacy in any relationship?
yeah. I think what I've discovered is I think what gets in, people's way the most is limiting beliefs, like beliefs you have that you're not enough in some way, or you've got to protect yourself in some way, or just if you've got fears that are driving your car and have hijacked you, that will prevent you from being able to have that beautiful intimacy with someone, emotional intimacy, because there's a part of you that's a little bit clenched or afraid, or there's that little contracted part within you. And that, I believe that's really at the root of most intimacy blocks, is limiting beliefs that are getting in your way.
Yeah, and I talk about that all the time, and that it's
Yeah.
not your fault. And
Yeah.
we all have been, first of all, we're all on autopilot these days, just trying to get through X, Y, and Z. And so when we are on autopilot, we tend to act from our normal ways of being without a lot of thought. And typically, the way in which we approach life, let's look at COVID. There's so much fear in the world, right? Around the disease, what if I catch it? And then, so everybody's limiting beliefs, I feel like in this day and age, especially, are at an all-time high.
Yeah.
And that's all we think about. So how do you help your clients to determine, is that limiting belief serving me? What do I know is the truth? Is it real, right? Because I always say fear isn't real. So
Mm-hmm.
how do you coach your clients through that?
Yeah. We basically we pull up the root on all beliefs that are there. And in anything that feels like negative or limiting, we really pull it up at the root and look at, like, where did this come from? And then explore what is actually true beyond what you've been programmed to think in your default way of thinking. And so we look at that work, we do that together. And then I have a thing where I just put everyone I work with, I have them on at least a 40-day practice of working with your beliefs in a certain way, in a certain structure, and doing a 20 to 30-minute practice of really working to rewire and reprogram the beliefs so that they're no longer running you. Because it
Right.
does take some work to rewire those suckers. I found that just knowing what they are, while that's great and super helpful, it doesn't necessarily change the pattern because that wiring is still there. So
Right.
yeah,
And
it's a
what
bit of
are
a process.
and how do people recognize that they have them, right? Are there signs? Like, how do you dissect what they are?
Limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if there's a belief, that's a great question, actually. I've never been asked that particular question. Um, so if you have beliefs that aren't serving you or that are causing like a contraction within you. So for instance, I'm not enough. Maybe that belief of maybe I'm not enough in some way to get the person that I want, or maybe I'm too much. There's like a block, there's a fear, there's a block in you. So that would be a limiting belief. It's limiting you from being your full self because there's this insecurity. Or if you have a belief of maybe love's not meant for me, or maybe time's running out, or there's no good guys left out there, or any of that stuff, it literally limits what's possible for you. And so I think anytime that you can identify, I have this belief and it actually is limiting my possibilities and what I feel is possible for me, that is where you definitely want to be working with those.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. And I have to imagine that this is also what plays into people's struggles that they have in creating connection with people, right? Because
Totally.
fears go skyrocketing up high.
Totally. And I see that happen so much with my clients. And I used to be, I did the same thing back in the day, but yeah. And that it blocks intimacy. It's like when you have these limiting beliefs in your system, it's so hard to be open and easy and authentic with the person you're connecting with because there's all this stuff going on inside. So it's so important to work with these things.
Yeah, and I believe that's
Yeah.
what fear keeps us from, right? Fear keeps us from truly expressing who it is that we are, and it hinders our ability to create intimacy in our
Yeah.
relationship. So I would love to talk a little bit more about intimacy. What is your definition of intimacy, and what are the most common blocks that you see your clients have as it relates to intimacy?
Yeah. I think intimacy is the ability to let someone in and be seen and see. And yeah, to be vulnerable, to be fully authentic and allow yourself to be seen and known. And I think there's a lot of things that come up that are blocks to intimacy that I don't think people realize are blocks. They're the things that are, it's like this unconscious part of us that's protecting ourselves from intimacy. And so we do certain things. So an example of that would be if you are, when you're upset with your partner, if something comes up and you start blaming and shaming, and you've got this defense mechanism where you're just attacking them and putting up walls, that's an intimacy block. Or if when, things get tough in your relationship, you say, I'm out of here, like, screw this, and you walk away, you're not allowing that moment. You're not allowing things to open up. You're not allowing your heart to crack open. So that's a block. When you try to control your partner in certain ways, whether that's what they wear or how they're acting or how they're spending their time, that's a block as well. And also a popular one I see is when people are really busy and distracted. It could be TV. It could be that they work all the time, but you're not able to drop in with someone and have intimacy if you're not able to be present. So these are just some examples of little things that people do that they might not realize is an intimacy block, but definitely will prevent you from going deep with someone.
Yeah. And it's interesting because as you're saying that too, what's coming up for me is then how do you tell the difference between an intimacy block and lack of compatibility? Because I would imagine, I don't know, for me right now, I'm like, how do you tell the difference?
Yeah. So I would say an intimacy block it's more of an internal thing. It's something you're doing that's getting in the way of your connection. And it's like you're protecting yourself on a certain level. So that's a you thing. I see compatibility as more of an us thing. It's do we fit together? Do our outlooks on life and what we want, does that match up? So I think they're very different. Intimacy block is that internal thing, it's the you thing, and compatibility is the us thing. Do we work as a couple?
Yeah, I think that's really important because what I'm hearing is that like compatibility is external, right? And intimacy is internal. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of times too, we spend so much time focused on the external and not enough time focused on the internal. So, how does that prevent people from really creating true connections with either people that they're dating or even just people in their life?
Focusing on external, like the
Yeah, because
blocks.
if people are, I feel like we have these internal blocks,
Yeah.
but we may not be conscious to them. So we project them almost as it being an external issue. So how do you get people tuned back into the internal and then perhaps that's playing out in a way that's impacting their life and the
Yeah.
connections they
Well,
have?
first they have to be open to looking, because some
Right.
people just aren't open. They're not, that block is built in and they have no interest in doing the inner work. So that's going to be a tough one to move through that one. But I think that when someone's open and willing, when I'm working with my clients, we're looking at we really explore what's getting in your way here. Do you have resentments and hurt that haven't been explored? Do you have limiting beliefs that are causing you to not show up fully in the best way that you can? What are your fears? And so we really just gut everything. And so I call it looking at our blind spots. What are the things that we don't realize are going on that are impacting us? And the work that I'm doing with people is that really pulling it all up and just unwinding it all. And so my background is a therapist. And so I go there with people, but I think it's about gutting each little thing and really doing that inner work to make sure that you feel pretty healed in these different areas. And when you do that work and you're willing to look and explore and take responsibility for certain things, then being in a healthy partnership, it's just so much easier because you're not walking around with all your shit. You can actually, you can function in a more graceful way.
Yeah, and I think people avoid that, right? They
Oh
avoid
yeah.
the unpacking of the bad stuff because, oh God, what will I find? What am I going to uncover? And I'm sure you learn the same thing is when you unpack and when you get uncomfortable unpacking, that's where the truth growth happens. That's where the magic
Totally.
happens. And that's where you're really able to transform your life. And
Totally.
let's be real, it enables you to start creating more authentic relationships and connections with people in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing when you take the time to do the work, so much opens up from that. But there's so much resistance. I think we like to be safe. We like to stay where it's comfortable so it's just easy to kind of stay in our little bubble and our cocoon of what we know sometimes versus actually face what's really going on. But when you face it, that's a game changer.
It's totally game changing, right?
So worth it. So worth the pain and the discomfort and facing it is so worth it, because what's on the other side of that is freedom, I think.
Freedom, peace, joy.
Yeah.
I say that all the time, and there's no price tag on that. And it's not something that we necessarily know how to do. I always tell people in divorce, people see hiring an attorney as a necessity and doing the emotional work is a luxury. And it's not. Doing the emotional work is actually a necessity. Just as much as hiring a lawyer, because imagine everybody listening, what's going to happen if you don't do the work and you're continuing to have these blocks in your life? Do you think that you're actually going to be able to form true, authentic connections with future partners? Think about the relationships you currently have. Do you feel connected to your kids, to your family, to your friends? Do they even know the authentic you, the authentic you, right? So I'm sure a lot of people are going, I have no idea. Oh my God, I've got to do something about this. So what are some steps that people can start taking to address their inability to form true, authentic connection?
Yeah, I think I would say the place to really start, and I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but is looking at what are the beliefs you have that are at the root of your discomfort, your anxiety. Anytime you feel anxious or hurt or angry or jealous, there's a belief that's creating that. So what is the belief? And then really write those all down and take some time and really start exploring, where did this come from? Like, where was it? What was the first time that I can remember feeling this way? And really working with that and unpacking that. I think that's really a great place to start, is working with the beliefs, because that impacts everything. That's always like the first place I start with my clients, because everything stems from that. If your beliefs are skewed to negative and limiting place, you can't really get anywhere.
No.
You're just going to be walking in quicksand everywhere you go.
And I think I even want to take what you said a step further, because I'm sure some people are like, I know what my belief is. And I always say, your conscious mind knows what your belief is, but your conscious mind doesn't know what your subconscious belief is. So that's where that, I believe, is what you're saying is it's not that, well, I know that that I am really frustrated and feeling hurt about this. There's a belief that you've attached to that hurt, to that pain.
You say, like, I can't, like, if you have a belief of, I can't, men are liars, or I can't trust men, like I can't trust anyone, or good things disappear from my life and nothing ever works out for me. It's like those kind of core beliefs. Those are the ones that are so important to be looking at.
And I would even take it a step further. And this is where my theta healing practitioner mind is coming in, is that you believe it is serving you in some positive way, which is why you keep perpetuating it. Maybe it's keeping you safe. Maybe it's keeping you from being alone. So it's a matter of detaching, right? The belief to the emotion, that you can change the belief and not lose the positive, but you don't have to feel negative to get the positive, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's kind of, I did a theta healing class this weekend, and this was something that like my instructor and I like got really underneath. And I had one of those like moments where I was like, oh my God, it's the belief is not the belief. The belief is what your conscious mind believes it to be. But there is something subconscious underneath that, unless you have somebody guiding you around what that looks like, you're going to stay on a conscious level, which is not serving you. And even everybody listening, how is it serving you? How has it been going? How are you doing by staying in the conscious mind? That's where experts like Melanie and myself, that's why we do what we do. That's why our clients see the results that they do. And our clients are able to create and develop healthy connections, healthy, intimate relationships. So what does that look like? Let's let everybody listening dream of what that looks like, because
Mm.
everybody listening gets to have this, right?
Yes, absolutely. So healthy relationships.
Yeah.
I
Or
mean,
a healthy connection, right? What does
yeah,
healthy, intimate connection?
yeah. Healthy, intimate connection is, to me, there's mutual respect. There's transparency. You genuinely care about this person and want the best for them. Like, you help lift each other up. You're present with each other. It's full of love and like emotional intimacy where you're able to be vulnerable and just transparent with each other. Like, that is the glue, I think, in relationship, and that you have trust from that. But I think those are the things that stand out to me in a healthy relationship. And when you have these things, there's just a feeling of joy. To be met on that level is so joyous and so healing. And it just feels like a big yes. I think when we're in the wrong relationships, when they're not healthy, there's always something it's just something that's off. We want to change. But I feel like when we're in a healthy, thriving connection with someone, it feels like a yes. It doesn't mean it's perfect and that you're not going to have moments where you might argue or things come up, but you navigate it with grace and love and respect. That's what I
I
see.
love that. Say that
Yeah.
again. Navigate it with grace, love, and respect.
Mm.
And I have to be honest, I didn't understand a lot of this when I was married. I didn't understand. I thought that healthy connection was like rainbows and unicorns. And if I
Mm.
didn't have rainbows and unicorns, I didn't have a healthy connection. It took my
Yeah.
divorce for me to truly understand that it's not always rainbows and unicorns. And the times where it's not, you still get to engage in a healthy, loving conversation, and your feelings do get to be heard as long as you communicate them respectfully. That is, I didn't understand this. I
Mm.
was in my 40s learning this. So everybody
Yeah.
listening, you're not late to the party. You have the power to change this today.
Yeah, anytime you want. This is what's possible for you. Like, when you dig in and you clear away some of these blind spots and do the work, and love and intimacy and all of that, it's right there. It's everywhere. It really is everywhere. And I always hear people saying, "Oh, it's hard to find." And no, it's all over the place. Once you get out of the stuff that's holding you back, it's really easy to find that.
It is, and it's possible to manifest healthy, intimate relationships with
Hell
people.
yeah.
It's possible. It
Yes.
is. Like I talk about this all the time. I have a new boyfriend, and I literally wrote down a very specific, detailed list of
Yeah.
the partner I was looking for.
Mm.
And it wasn't until I really got crystal clear on the type of partner that I wanted to create a healthy, intimate connection with.
Yeah.
Um, he wasn't coming around, right?
Yeah.
So I do believe that your mind is really powerful. And as you said, if you've got these limiting beliefs, if you've got these fears that are just, ruminating in the back of your mind, it's holding you back, right? You create
Totally.
what you think. So
Exactly. It's like a
right?
magnet. It's just a magnet. Whatever you think, you're going to draw in people that will reflect that belief back to you.
Exactly.
It's like clockwork. It just happens.
Yeah. And people are like, why do I keep attracting the same person? Because that's what
That's what
you're.
you're programmed. I know.
Yeah.
Let's look at this stuff and remove it. Yeah. Yeah. I love this
Yeah.
work.
And it's important work that everybody gets to do. I feel like we've covered so many different boxes that we're checking off here. But as we're wrapping up, what else would you like to share with our audience today that perhaps we haven't gotten to, that you're like, wait, one more thing? What would you like to leave our audience with today?
Just that anything that you want or dream of is 100% possible. And if you want healthy love in your life, if this is something that you crave and you feel like, I don't know, it seems hard, I can't get it, and you have these ideas that there are blocks there. Oh, I have to wait until my kids are certain, like all the things. We have these ideas of what's possible, but I just want to be here as a reminder to you that everything is possible. And if you want it and you desire it, and you can start looking, you could start working on your blocks and the blind spots that have been getting in your way. And all of these things are possible. They're on the other side of that, but you do have to clear the muck inside before it can come in with ease. but
Yeah.
you can absolutely do that. And I'm just such a big dorky cheerleader about this stuff because I watch people move through this stuff every day, and it's life changing. So yeah, if you're struggling, keep going, do the work, dig in, and there's a lot of beauty on the other side.
There's so much beauty on the other side.
Yeah.
I can attest to that, as well as you and all the clients that are fortunate enough to work with you.
Mm.
Melanie, this was a great, I love you and I love this conversation. I
Thank
feel
you.
like I love what you stand for. And
Mm.
please share with everybody how they can get in touch with you. And I know that you would like to extend a complimentary offer to everybody tuning in, which will be in the show notes.
Yeah, yeah. You could find me at my website is good at you, all spelled out, goodatyou.com. And you could find me on Instagram under Melanie Hersch. And yeah, I'd love to offer if any of you listening are curious and wondering, what are my blind spots? Where might I be getting in my own way? Feel free to book a complimentary consultation with me, and I'll talk with you, and we can really pull apart and look at what might be getting in your way so you know where to start working.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I would absolutely love for everybody listening to take advantage of that. Melanie, thank you so much for your
Thank
generosity. I
you.
really appreciate it. And I'm thankful for you being here. So thank you for being a guest. And everybody tuning in, thank you so much for listening to our conversation today. As always, I strive to ensure that you get at least one nugget of information to help you navigate wherever it is that you are in your process. And I always love hearing from you guys. So if you have any comments, I would love to hear your learnings, your aha moments, your, oh my God, I never even knew this was possible comments. Email me, wendy@wendysterling.net. I would love to hear from you guys. It means so much to me when I know that your lives are being changed, because everybody deserves to have an incredible life after divorce. So thank you all for tuning in, sending you tons of love, light, and joy as always. Mwah. Bye, everybody.